Consider it done.
Last time it was probably, make sure I don't leave it,
This is all the notes about people.
yeah.
Do you want Myron's application? You know it's online, right?
Yeah, but I like having
The book. I like having it too. For ZBA?
Hey, you can look at that, see how long I've been, you know what I mean? So take a look at that picture. See that picture? That's how long ago.
Jesus, that's like the 80s. That looks like the 80s.
I'm sure it was. Wow, that was in the 90s.
90s, big glasses, big old round things.
These chairs don't come up, do they?
20 years ago, man.
Sorry.
Yes.
call to order the March 21st, 2016 hearing of the Northfield Township Zoning Board of Appeals. If you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Kalecki, could you please call the roll?
Certainly will. Wellings? Here. Shockley?
Here.
Steffens?
Here.
Kalecki here.
Here.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda as was presented to us in our packets? Shockley moved. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any correspondence for the board?
Nope.
Hearing none? All right, we will move on to public hearing. We'll open the public hearing in case number, or we will not open the hearing, we'll just read the public hearing of case number JZBA 160002, Judy M. Munch, 82 East Shore Drive, Whitmore Lake, Michigan, 48189, requests a variance from Article 9, SR2, Single Family Residential District, Section 36-248, Regulations and Standards, subsection 4A, for front yard setback variance to remove an existing enclosed porch on the east side of the home and replace it with a new 3-season room, and to build a new covered porch on the north and west sides of the dwelling. The parcel number is B02-05-378-014 and is zoned SR2 Single Family Residential District. Do I need to motion to open the hearing?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Mhm.
Do I have a motion to open the hearing?
I'll make the motion to open the hearing for case JZBA 160002.
Okay, I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So, is a representative of Judy Munch here? Yes? Okay. All right. If you would please come forward and state your name and address for the record. And please present any information you have to the board as to why you believe the variance should be approved.
My name's Tom Slider, I'm a building contractor for this project. My name's William Munch. My address is 10758 Greenwood Drive in South Lyon. I am Judy Munch's son.
All right, would you like to add anything to your application?
Do you have any questions about what you're hoping to accomplish?
I do, actually, before we dive in. Your application said a variance for the front yard setback, correct? But the elevations show that there's a new overhang of the porch coming off towards the driveway.
Right, which is, I believe that's the west side you're referring to.
Okay, so is that what you're also proposing to build?
Right.
Okay,
It's basically the whole footprint.
okay.
There's a small porch there, it's like comes out 6 foot without the roof.
Mhm.
And then this is only different out of the 2 feet.
I believe the plot plan that we received does not have what the side yard setback would be with this new extension. And so I believe that you're already into the setback, and this would be further into the required 10-yard 10-foot side yard setback. It was not a part of the notice, so we are not able to vote on that extension into the west because it was not noticed.
Okay.
Unless you know what the distance is between the,
Property line in that building?
I thought it
Correct.
was,
That's over 6, that's over 10
it's the width of the,
Is it
driveway or more.
The driveway runs up the side of the house there.
And I thought we had that on there because we did state the new corners of the front porch which would have been that line that you're referring to, the west line. So,
Is that where you're removing the existing porch and adding a new, or is this a
The
different area?
existing porch is on the other side.
the existing,
Okay.
existing porch is on the east side of the house.
Because it's not in here.
So what is the distance on the west side of the house from existing house to the property line? Do you know that distance?
I
It's-
thought it was
don't
not-
have.
It's
we
not
don't-
on the plot plan?
I don't have a plot plan.
I don't,
Well, it doesn't show-
all
Yeah.
I have is
Doesn't show
a,
the sides.
It doesn't show the side.
did you have a plot plan?
Yes, we did. I thought sure we had a plot plan when everything was submitted, and I checked with Mary week or so
Yeah, I don't
ago, and
know
I thought
why.
we had everything that we needed.
Yeah, we've got the planner. Yeah.
What area?
Maybe. I'm sort of trying to figure out what are we.
No, there's a more detailed plan. We don't have those pages.
We don't have that.
Yeah, we don't have those. Yep.
Yeah, it's right here.
That would have been helpful.
24/6.
It's there.
Oh, thank you. I do not have this now. Okay.
It's not in everyone's packet. It's in my packet.
Yeah, the little one, everybody got that.
This is in my packet, but it's not in everyone else.
24/6 is
Okay.
existing house.
Just 10 on both sides, so we got 10 on this side.
And we would have either 24/6 or 18/6 on this side.
How far does the porch now, but you said the existing porch is 6 feet?
Currently, there's a
Could I ask you to go back to the microphone, please, just so we can get it on the record?
Currently, there's an existing front poured concrete step that's out about 6 feet from the house.
And you, if I may, Madam Chair?
Yeah, please.
And you want to extend the porch to the west, in addition to that 6 feet, you want to extend it how far?
Well, the drawing, the proposed new front porch is 8 feet.
Okay. And the minimum setback there is 10 feet, Mary? 10 feet? So the only concern that I would have, Madam Chair, just throwing this out there, is I'd want to check the driveway width and make sure that that encroachment of that porch wouldn't impact the driveway. But if, I think you can make an argument that as long as that 10-foot setback does exist, that the ZBA can act on the rest of it. I think you should be okay on that.
Now, the porch on the driveway side is 6 feet
So
out from the house.
So the porch on the side is the same footprint, but you're going to extend it forward.
No, currently, there is no porch on the west side of the house.
No, I'm talking about the east side where there's a sunroom now.
Oh, that, that line stays the same.
Right,
the
but
east side.
but it comes forward.
Right, but it comes forward towards the road,
Gotcha.
the 8
Okay.
feet. And then it comes 6 foot towards the driveway. So that's where the driveway side will have at least 18 feet, 18 foot
We have
6 from the new porch line to the property line.
Yeah, the concern is is that new porch that is being put in, replacing the existing porch. They already have the 22 frontage that's already encroaching on that 30-foot setback. And then they want to take 8 more feet of that, which now makes it to 14.
We're after, from the existing front porch, we're after 2 more feet for a total of 8.
And we
Yeah,
get all
so
the-
they have to, because it doesn't look like there was a variance allotted the first time, because the way Kurt is explaining in here is that we have to make a 16-foot front yard variance is required in order to proceed with the project.
I would say that's probably correct, yes.
Yes, yes.
So you're tearing off the whole front of the house and then
No.
building it out more? Or you're just
No.
you're trying to bump out the front of the house?
No, we're just creating a porch on the front of the house. So I think I have a photograph here that would show what.
Yeah,
It already sticks out.
Yeah, 'cause I don't think we have that.
yeah. So there's only that, this right here. So they're gonna extend all,
It's in my packet.
roof line.
Oh,
And then it's gonna come back.
Oh, so there, is this the front?
So this is gonna extend down to 8 feet, this is gonna extend down 8 feet,
Okay.
and 6 feet on the side.
First time I met her, she gave me a picture.
So that's compliance here.
Okay.
Here, but it doesn't meet the compliance here.
What you wanted.
I must have thought it was.
Which probably never had a variance to begin with.
If I could, I'd like to hear from our planner about the driveway issue, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Based upon what the applicant has explained, the variance has been noticed for the front yard setback. The extension of the porch to the west side of the house still allows it to comply with the side yard setback variance. So we are good as long as the both conditions, such approval, but not public safety, making sure that the driveway is still reasonably accessible to the back of the house. So the variance that you have noticed tonight is valid for what we're proposing.
Thank you. Who, would anyone have to, prior to a permit being issued, is there any inspection that would be done to determine the driveway issue and access?
If the board makes that as a condition of approval, they won't be able to pull a building permit until public safety is consulted on the driveway issue. Or they won't be able to receive the actual building permit. They'll obviously be able to apply for it.
All right, thank you. So you are removing the existing little porch that's on the
Right.
east side
Here.
and then extending it out, and it's going to go across the front of the house
Right.
and then
This
6
is-
feet to the west.
This is a representative of the currently right now, there's no front, the front line of the house is just,
And it will be unenclosed?
Well, the existing, currently right now, there's existing enclosed porch.
I'm sorry, could you step back to the microphone? I just want to make sure that we have this on the record since we're not taking minutes
Okay.
live.
Right. Currently, there's an existing enclosed porch on the east side.
Mhm.
That does come forward when we rebuild to the front line of the new porch. Right.
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 I have a picture of the existing house. I don't know if that helps.
But what you're proposing to build, will it, because you're showing on the elevations that it's just covered but not enclosed,
Right.
with screens?
The east side,
The east side will remain enclosed, but
right. But the rest of it,
will be open.
right, will be open,
All right,
yes,
thank you.
yes.
Madam Chair, this site plan
Yes.
was in my packet.
I'm sorry?
This site plan was in my packet, so if you guys want to pass this around, I don't know how
Oh,
many
please,
copies
thank
we
you.
have it.
Thank you,
Yeah,
because we did
why
not
don't
have a
you-
site plan.
Yeah, why don't you take that, Amy, so that you can see that.
Okay. So this is the part that's coming out and then cover. Okay. No, that's-
Do you want it up? I know what I did. I thought this was a small version. That's why you have this.
Is there a sidewalk in front of that house? Okay.
I mean, there's like it's right on the road.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't even,
I couldn't remember exactly where it was
It's
at.
almost part of the road, that part of
Yes.
East Shore Drive, where it doesn't have the sidewalk.
Okay.
road end, and there's an extra set of concrete.
Okay.
a lot of those houses are really not much front yard, if any.
Is the driveway on the west side or the east side of the house?
West.
West, okay. Yeah, I was just looking. I was looking at the picture too. I'm sure these don't represent a lot.
Do you have anything to add at this time?
Unless you have other questions that we can answer.
Not at this time, but stay tuned, we might.
Okay.
I'd like to know if Ms. Krishna has any comments she'd like to make to the board?
Would the board like me to review the findings of fact based on the standards in my review letter?
Yes, please.
Thank you. For the benefit of the recording and for the people present here tonight, as the applicant clarified, their proposal is to build a new enclosed porch on the east side of the house. Thank you. And that wraps around the north and west sides. The site is located on the south side of East Shore Drive and is zoned SR2, which is single-family residential. The required front yard setback in this district is 30 feet. The existing setback to the dwelling is 22 feet. The proposal is a 14-foot setback from the edge of the new porch to the public right-of-way. So the variance being requested is 8 feet. There are specific standards in the zoning ordinance based upon which the board considers every request for variance, based upon which you make your findings of fact. I shall summarize those in brief. The first criteria would be the special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building and are not applicable to other land, structures, or buildings in the same district. Now, the applicant is one of many parcels on East Shore Drive that do not meet the required 30-foot front yard setback. These are all legal non-conforming structures. They have existed. They probably predate the zoning ordinance. Based upon the information that we saw on the Washtenaw County GIS website, and we scaled off some of the setbacks, we find that some properties on East Shore have enclosed porches, others have open porches, and some just have a concrete porch landing in front of the main entrance to the dwelling. Now, addition of an enclosed porch or the open porch would appear to allow the subject dwelling to be slightly closer to the street than its immediate neighbors and many of the other dwellings on nearby lots. There are no special conditions or circumstances that are innate to the property itself, but the existing pattern of development in the area neighborhood indicates that homes are placed closer to the street, and in many cases they do have porches in order to take advantage of the lake views from their front yard. We recognize the homeowners' desire to have improved views of the lake from their homes and enjoy lakeside living. It is also our understanding that the Planning Commission is at this time considering an amendment that would apply for lakefront lots and may recommend changes in the future. While strict interpretation of the standards in the ordinance does not allow us to make a finding of special conditions or circumstances that are associated with the site, we do find that the existing pattern of development in the area is somewhat similar to the encroachment that is being requested tonight. The next criteria is the special conditions and circumstances on which the variance request is based do not result from actions of the applicant. The request does result from the applicant's desire to take advantage of the lake views and build an additional porch to the house. So to a certain degree, it is created by them. The literal interpretation of the zoning would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other property owners in the same district under the terms of this chapter. Now, adherence to the strict requirements of the ordinance is not going to prevent the applicant's enjoyment of the lake. While the enclosed porch across the front of the house would definitely give an expanded area for relaxation and enjoyment of the lake, the existing house still does have an enclosed porch on its east side, which does allow for some lake views. The granting of the variance requested will not confer upon the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this chapter to other lands, structures, or buildings in the same district. Now, if such a variance is granted, the applicant would be able to build a structure that will bring their dwelling closer to the right-of-way than the other dwellings on that portion of East Shore Drive. The board needs to note that this may set a precedent for you to receive similar requests from some other homeowners who currently have open areas where they could possibly put in a porch in the front too. The next criteria is the existence of non-conforming uses of land, structures, or buildings in the same district, and it shall not be considered as grounds for issuance of the variance. Now, the applicant did make a justification that the setback is similar to others built before current zoning requirements, but our ordinance does say that existing nonconformities is not a basis for granting of new nonconformities, so technically this standard would not be applicable to them. The variance requested is the minimum possible for reasonable use of the land, building, and structure. As I mentioned, the house does have an enclosed porch on its east side that does provide them with lakeside views. The proposed porch in the front, while offering additional lake views, is not necessarily essential for reasonable use of the land or the structure. And finally, granting of the variance will be in harmony with the intent of the ordinance and will not be injurious to the neighborhood or otherwise detrimental to public health. We don't believe that granting of this variance is going to be adverse to public health, safety, or well-being in this case, subject to, of course, a condition being placed of public safety reviewing the adequacy of the driveway width to reach the back of the property. Based upon our review of the proposal, we deferred to the board, considering the fact that the Planning Commission is revisiting front yard setbacks in the lakefront district, that you make a decision either to approve or deny based on the findings of fact that are listed in our letter over here tonight. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I do have a question. When we talk about the 22-foot existing,
Correct.
is that to the slab that's in front, or is that to the actual front of the house?
The existing setback would be measured to the slab, because the slab is technically a structure. It's an open, small porch landing.
So, 22 to 14, the additional 8 feet, but when you look at this here, it's only coming out 2 feet past that slab, it's not coming out another 6 feet, so I don't see where we're getting an 8-foot additional variance. Am I
Well, since the applicant is planning to remove the existing porch landing, we technically would disregard the distance that it's coming out from the existing porch. You would measure the new setback from the structure itself. That is why it's the full width of the 8-foot wide porch, because they're removing what is non-conforming and replacing it with a new wider non-conforming porch.
Sounds like you're penalizing it twice. Just my thought.
It's,
If it's only 2 feet closer to the road than what that existing slab is here, just seems like you're punishing it.
it's more of a technicality because it's an existing 8x6 slab, which is being replaced now by a 8 by full width wide, full livable porch. Right now, it's more of a landing versus a livable, usable space as in a porch. It's not technically penalizing them, but it's making sure that the variance they get recognizes the fact that it is for the entire structure, not just for a portion of it that's sticking out right now.
So if this were to be built, then you'd need some more steps coming down, and that would encroach even further into the right-of-way? You don't think so?
I don't see any steps, but Mr. Slidell, you showed artistic rendering that seemed to indicate steps. I didn't
Well,
get to see a.
I think the steps would, because the new slab height would be the same height as that existing one. So whatever steps there are from that slab to the sidewalk, I think there's just one tread, 2 rises, 1 tread would be the same.
I'm just trying to figure out the measurement then. I mean, how much we're encroaching. Yes, we are looking at changing potentially the setbacks in the, around the lakes. But my feel for that was it was going to be in lower trafficked areas, like more back into the subs, and not that larger East Shore Drive takes a lot of traffic, much more traffic than inside some of the subdivisions around Horseshoe Lake. And so my concern would be safety on the one hand there, and we haven't adopted anything. That's still all under discussion. Now we have a new planner to provide additional input on that, so.
Living right in that area, I'd say there's no safety issue.
I was just gonna ask that,
There's no safety
because adding 8 foot one way or another is not going to, I mean, it's still sticking out.
Still got 14 feet to the road right of way.
Right.
Beginning shoulder road, so. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about.
I mean, my safety issue is more or less for the sidewalk, and that's already that's the issue. But that's a township issue, that's not a residential issue.
But the bulk of the setback is increasing, correct? We're going from what is existing, that's being taken away, and the visual bulk
Yes.
is increasing because it is going not only across the width of the house, but it is also coming out 6 feet to the west.
Mhm.
So it's not just a dimensional expansion, but a bulk expansion as well. But it's unenclosed. It is covered, but unenclosed.
Correct.
That
Yes,
one
that,
part.
the
Right,
part, yes.
yeah, right.
It's basically just creating a wraparound porch, trying to make it kind of look, it's basically an old farm style house, and we're trying to make it look more updated, but still keep that style of home in that era.
I guess I look at it and I look at the new house down the street
Yeah.
that was one of the nicer houses on the street, was recently renovated to my surprise. And this town has a visual issue with many of the homes in it. And I would applaud you for taking this step. A lot of the homes right there along East Shore Drive should be the pride and joy of this community, and they are not.
Yeah.
And that's the way I look at it. You're adding value to your home, you're adding value to your neighbors' homes, you're adding taxable value for the township, Howard, am I right? I
you
would
know what?
assume you're gonna be adding taxable value to
Maybe,
the home,
but
which
I
is.
just want to, for full disclosure, Gary, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but on that particular point, I don't care about adding taxable value.
I'll bet dollars to donuts your taxes will
I
go
like
up
to
after
hear-
you
I like
do
to hear
this.
that.
And obviously, I don't see any of your neighbors here complaining about it. They were all notified. Did you have any?
I did talk to my neighbors, and they told me they had no issues with it.
Okay.
I have no proof of that, so I guess that's my word.
Well,
Well,
they
your
were all
proof, your
notified.
proof is they're not here.
They basically told me they weren't gonna come here tonight and protest anything, because the room that's there, the sunroom or whatever, the three-season room that's there, is in need of repair either way.
It does.
And we're trying to make it, it's got old aluminum windows, we're just trying to bring it up to modern stuff and make it look more appeasing.
I will also take some exception to the Part B on here, special conditions and circumstances being your fault for asking. These homes have all been here longer than this zoning ordinance. The reason the Zoning Board of Appeals exists is because if we tried to make a zoning ordinance that would have taken care of every house that was existing in the township at the time, it would be this big.
Right.
And in order to avoid that kind of a confrontation, they put a zoning board of appeals for people like us to sit and help you when a property owner comes up and says, hey, I can't do what I'd like to do because the house was built prior to the zoning, doesn't match. That's why it's a zoning board of appeal, not a zoning board of denial. I've been over this, on this board now for 18 years, and back in the day, I took a lot of heat for telling people that it's the zoning's fault. It's not your fault. The house predates, and I'll say that again and again until I'm blue in the face. If a house and lot predates the zoning ordinance, it's not the fault of the house that it doesn't match. So I take umbrage at that fact that it's your fault. I don't believe it's your fault. You're asking because the zoning laws affect your property adversely. I'd like to see this done. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but this town certainly needs a facelift, and if we're doing it one house at a time, especially if what I'm hearing is we are going to look at those lots. And to your thoughts that it would be the ones farther back, the ones farther back aren't as adversely affected as the lakefront lots. I've owned 2 homes, 3 homes now, right on the lake, and they've all been a disaster to live in and work with because, you know, it's just the way people were. These were cottages at one time, and now we have to learn to live with them, upgrade them as best we can. So I think it would be a mistake if this board denied, is an 8-foot porch versus a 6-foot porch? That's, I guess, the question I would ask. Anything less than 6 foot is not worth having a porch, I can assure you of that. Somewhere between the 8 and 6, I guess if you want to try and minimize it, maybe that's what you would look at. I'm not even sure that
No, but then that would change the pitch of the house.
Yeah.
On the awning and everything,
Yeah.
so.
Agreed. So an 8-foot porch is not overly excessive by any stretch of the imagination. And if that slab is currently 6 foot wide coming out, you're really only enlarging that distance closer to the road by 2 feet. I know it's bigger across the whole front of the house, but you're really only coming 2 feet more than what that existing slab is right now.
But really what they're doing is they're making the house more symmetrical from the roadside, more.
Absolutely.
The appearance, they're increasing the appearance of it.
Yes.
And everything, so, I'm not gonna squabble about 2 feet.
And that, like you said, it doesn't, if you measured the setback at 22 foot to that slab, we are coming out just 2 more foot. I understand we're ripping that off, but then you'd have to measure my setback 6 foot farther back at 28 foot.
Yeah.
And now I'm down to 20, not down to 14.
Would you be agreeable to a condition that the porch not be enclosed?
The porch is not enclosed.
And it will never be enclosed?
Oh, no, yeah.
I mean, we
Where
could
the
build
room,
it-
the
right.
room is gonna be enclosed.
the way it's
The
Right,
drawn,
summer.
that-
we
but
could
the,
build it.
but that would not be a porch, that would be a part of
Right.
the structure, the
Yeah,
porch.
the-
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, we have no, I understand, that's
Right.
my word again, but we have no intention in closing that.
Okay.
What,
That's why the room is there to,
yeah.
Okay.
That's a great point, because over the time, sometimes your next owner that you sell it to may say, well, I want that extra enclosed, and that would, in my
That's-
book, would
that's what the
ruin this
zone-
house
zoning
if
board
you
of
were to
appeals is
enclose
And it
it.
would prevent, by us putting that condition on it, would prevent them from even
yeah,
enclosing
you're-
it.
that would have no, that would not stop us. If
Right.
that condition was the only condition,
We're
that's
fine.
not
But
gonna.
you're saying we build it as it is drawn, but there'd just be a caveat that never, anybody could never enclose what's not enclosed when we leave, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, great idea.
Right.
But the one section will be enclosed that pops out on the east.
Right.
The one that was existing.
Intention.
Yeah.
Well, but it's getting bigger now, because it's coming out
Yeah.
by 8 feet more, so
Just being
8 by
replaced.
whatever. And the rest would remain open.
It's
You
being
wou-
replaced and expanded, that part of the,
Right.
yeah.
You wouldn't be screening it in, though, across
The-
the front?
No.
Okay.
The front is wide open.
Front and the west, wrap around west side are wide, are open, right,
And they're agreeable to a condition that it not be
right.
Yeah.
closed. Do you have anything else to add? Well, I would call for the public to comment, but there's no one here. So I will call for the closing of the public hearing portion.
I move to close the public hearing.
Have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright. Do any of the other board members have any comments or concerns?
I do have a question. Are we supposed to deal with a little barn or a little shed down by the water also in here, or no?
It
No.
is my
It's an
understanding that that
existing.
has been taken,
Taken
that is
out-
not part of
not-
this
not part of this
application, just the
anymore. Okay.
porch on the house.
Okay.
All right, so just add that. Okay. Okay, thank you. You're making it so easy.
Mm.
Where's she been all our lives, Howard?
I don't know, but she's fantastic.
Yeah.
I
Thank
think
you.
we're all gonna love her.
Are we still commenting?
Nope,
Nope.
we're ready.
No, I
Want
guess.
to move on to new business?
I haven't made a motion in a long time, so let me try, see if I can get through it.
No, you don't need to open it, just, we're moving on to new business.
Moving on to new business, which is consideration of
Consideration of JZBA 160002 at 82 East Shore Drive.
You're on.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion that in case JZBA 16002 Judy M. Munch at 82 East Shore Drive, parcel number B0205378-014, zoned single-family SR2 residential, that we grant, hold on a second, a variance an 8-foot variance request from the front yard setback using the recommendations and findings of there are no special conditions or circumstances peculiar to the site or structure on it. However, the request is in keeping with the existing pattern of development in the area and neighborhood. 2, the existing pattern of development development with non-compliant front yard setbacks likely precedes the zoning ordinance setback regulation from which the variance is requested. 7, the variance is not adverse to the public interest. And then we want to add, it also adds taxable value to the township. There have been no neighbors' complaints. It does improve the appearance of the house and the community. And we want to put a caveat in here of, it's not, what did you call it?
Conditions.
A condition.
Condition.
A condition that the front porch will never be enclosed, and it's pending on public safety to be reviewed with the driveway and its access. And I'll take any friendly amendments if you guys have them.
No, that's good.
That's good.
We good?
Yep. I will support.
It has been motioned and supported. Mr. Colecki?
Aye. Or yes?
Ms. Otto?
Yes.
Wellings.
Member Wellings?
Yes.
Member Shockley?
Yes.
Stephens votes yes. Your variance is approved. Please, will there be any other paperwork that he will need to finish this out?
He'll need to come in and fill out a building permit.
Right. Regarding the driveway issue, deal with that.
As soon as you put in your building permit,
Okay,
we'll give a copy of that to the public safety director.
and they'll come review it.
Yep. We just want to make sure that you have enough existing width and that
Right, I-
2-foot addition is not gonna.
Yep. So,
All right.
Congratulations.
Yes,
Okay,
thank
thank
you.
you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to agenda item number 9, approval of the minutes from the February 16th, 2016 hearing. Does anyone have any corrections to the minutes?
Was Mr. Wyland here?
Yes.
He was? Okay. Don't recall that, but
Yeah, Kurt was.
he was. Okay.
I would like to add on page 3, on the right-hand column, the first full paragraph begins auto proposed setting aside consideration. I would like to note that Mr. Nowatzki declined tabling this issue for additional research into the parcel that the billboard sits on.
And that's very important.
Does anyone else have any other additions?
No corrections by me.
No?
No?
Jackie, do you have anything to
No.
add?
No.
I'm fine with
Marlene?
that.
No.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve with the correction or the addition the minutes from February 16th, 2016. Again, that addition is indicating on page 3, the first full paragraph on the right-hand column, that Mr. Nowatzki declined to table the hearing per Otto's suggestion that we do additional research into the parcel.
Mhm.
Agreed. Motion.
Okay. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Call to the public. No public here. ZBA member comments. Does anyone have anything that they would like to bring to the board's attention?
I had the chance to go to some ZBA training, and I picked up one of their booklets. If anybody feels they would like to get a refresher of, some of the points of being on ZBA, I think it's pretty useful. And so I have it. If anybody wants to borrow it and read it, or I can make copies, or whatever, leave it here for anybody.
Certainly, if you could make copies.
Well, or maybe we'll have to buy a
Have
couple
them-
more.
Have them make the copies.
Yeah, some
That would be
specific
good.
ones would be really helpful, the standards for evaluating the different variances, and I think it's pretty helpful.
How much was the book?
It was only 20, because I was there at the actual
Oh,
training.
okay.
And I have another one,
I'm sure we could get it
So-
online, too.
yes.
Okay.
I would like to bring up the topic of revising the findings of fact that are in section 36-943. It is within the rules and procedure portion of the zoning code that deals with standards of determination, and our zoning code lays out 5 findings that an applicant must make. Section 36-943, D 1 through 5. And in talking with our planner and with Howard, I think it's time that we take a look at the findings, and like to have the planning commission review and potentially amend that section. Again, that's section 36-943, D 1 through 5.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
if I may just add to that, the reason why we are suggesting revisiting it is the way the standards are written in our ordinance, it's pretty rigid. There's no flexible room. For example, at tonight's review, when I reviewed it based on the condition, I can see that it's not something that's going to affect public health and safety, but it does not meet the strict interpretation of the ordinance. The updates by state law gives some flexibility for us to make a reasonable decision without being boxed in. So that is something that would be well worth visiting if the idea is, as long as something is not adverse to the larger interest of the community or negative to the whole neighborhood, it's something that would be acceptable. For that, we need to tweak our standards if that's the intention. And the best way to do it would be for the board to make a motion asking the planning commission to revisit these standards, and the planning commission will rewrite the standards for you.
With our input.
Yes, absolutely.
No, that's a great point,
Yeah.
Amy, because, like I said, for 18 years, I've been battling, sometimes I feel like Clarence Darrow, trying to twist them to a point where they can actually work. And it's not always the easiest thing to do, and it's not always, and oftentimes you'll get some conflict even between us trying to go through it. When you do the strict interpretation of them, and they did before I was on the board years and years ago, and they turned a lot of people down. I mean, just even a simple common sense variance that they should have been given was turned down because of that. And we
And
have
the-
to fight to get, it shouldn't be this hard sometimes to give somebody a real simple variance, and yet those as written often do. I mean, you see how I try and do it, and I know it's just not comfortable, so I think you're right, it needs to be done.
And people are spending a lot of money to invest in their homes, and they're not going to invest in them by just doing things the wrong way. They want to do things presentable, and it just shows, like in tonight, you know, this was very presentable. And I think since I've been on the board, any homeowner that has come here has really presented their facts and their diagrams and everything, where they're investing in their home and they're not doing it in an awkward way. They're doing it in the best way that they have within the house fits on the lot.
And I will say thank you for, it's oftentimes you think of a planner is gonna be, no, you can't do it, but that was wonderful the way you helped.
I just want the board to understand, typically my way of looking is, with all my years of training, I've been doing only ZBA work for at least 18 years now. So I do interpret the ordinance based on what it's written, because that's required of me under planning codes. But that planning doesn't necessarily mean you have to suspend common sense at times. So while sometimes my letter might not be exactly what you say, based upon the presentation made by the applicant and feedback received from neighbors, if any are present, should the board choose to make a decision, I'm always there to help you make the findings of fact. So whatever decision you make, whether it is what I'm recommending or against it, we'll still have the proper findings of fact so that it'll stand up to scrutiny later on. I'm always there for that, sir.
Perfect. That's great.
Okay.
That was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. So I would like to make a motion that the Zoning Board of Appeals recommends that the Planning Commission review and amend Section 36-943 D1 through 5, the standards of determination for variance requests, with input from the members of the ZBA.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right, thank you. Let's see. Oh, one other thing while I'm thinking of it is the plans that we've been getting in our packets leave a lot to be desired. And I'm not in any way suggesting that somebody has to have a professional drawing or a professional plot plan, but
We have to have more detail.
we have to have more detail, and we have to have proposed and existing setback lines and dimensions and lot cover. I mean, again, it's something that a homeowner could do by themselves. I mean, you know, right, exactly. So Vidya is going to work with getting a sample plot plan put together so that it goes into the packet of information that
So-
someone gets.
Some suggestions on how they can show
This,
the
yes,
layout.
because
Agree.
it makes our jobs more difficult to try to figure out what they're asking. It makes our planner's job more difficult in trying to write legal notice and write a proper staff report. So we definitely could use some improvement in that area in what we receive. All right, any other comments? No, all right. Then the next meeting, if there's something on the docket, will be April 18th, 2016. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.